Radhe Radhe. Today is Saturday, 26th April 2025, and here we are to present to you this recap video for today's Bhagavad Gita study session, concluding the chapter. Along with me here is Mummy.
Radhe Radhe.
I'll bring up the screen momentarily and we'll take a look. As we said, the last two verses for chapter 10, we covered chapter 10, verses 41 and 42. Of course, after the usual recap quiz, that was for content from 2 weeks ago, covering chapter 10, verses 38, 39, and 40. As always, if you look at the description for the video, you'll get the link to the community portal page where you can get all these slides and the different quiz questions. So with that now, we shall start off with chapter 10, verse 41.
Yad yad vibhutimad sattvam Shrimad urjitam eva va Tat tad evavagachatvam Mama tejonsha sambhavam.
So chapter 10, verse 41, that has the catchphrase sparkling, but written as sparkling. As we discussed in class, and we'll see momentarily, everything is but a spark of Sri Krishna's splendor. When all that is viewed by us, it is of course glorious, beautiful, splendid, so it is sparkling. But remember, we also got a chance to see the next verse that will come up shortly, and we see Lord Shiv. Ling, we also know, is connected. Ling, Lingam, Lord Shiv. So just this manifestation of all that glory in the split word here as it's presented, sparkling. So in chapter 10, verse 41, Sri Krishna says that we, of course, recognize a lot of things and manifestations around us as beautiful, glorious, or powerful. We should always, however, remember or know that they spring or they emanate from Sri Krishna, and in fact, from but a spark of his splendor. So again, getting towards the conclusion and summary of chapter 10 and making us appreciate how what is so massive for us in terms of our world or the universe or the imagination of so many universes, yet all that is but a tiny part of Sri Krishna. In the next verse, in fact, we'll see specific fraction as well, so we'll hold off on that. But here, Sri Krishna is saying, at a minimum, just all you need to know is it is but a spark of his splendor. So Swamiji gives the example of electricity and sound that is created and flowing through a speaker. If we misunderstand that, we may think that sound is coming from that physical speaker, but actually it's coming from the electricity that has created it. Likewise, God is that energy powerhouse, storehouse of everything. It is his energy and grace that fuels us or powers us. And therefore, we should recognize anything we see around us and everything is all coming and emanating from him and from his energy, from his splendor. We saw this English word, raptures. We've seen it before. We actually saw it in the introduction many, many weeks ago, and then earlier today as well. Raptures, intense excitement or delight, and also from a spiritual standpoint, mental exaltation at a very, very high, noble state. So we recognize everything. It sends us in raptures. We must pause. We must not give credit to those objects or especially to those people. But in fact, the credit all goes to the source, that storehouse, that is God himself. So he is the powerhouse, as Swamiji says, and therefore he should be the object of our worship. God, that source of everything, all that glory, should be the object of our worship. Next up, we shall take a look at chapter 10, verse 42.
अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्य अहम् इदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्.
So, chapter 10, verse 42, we end with the catchphrase being a question, alliteration, familiar fraction. As we saw in class, this is where we get introduced to the 1/4, 3/4 split of everything that God has created and manifests. So, is it a familiar fraction? yes, now we know, or from Swamiji's and Maharajji's lectures, we know that the world that we are in and all the unlimited universes that are part of the material creation form one fourth of everything God is. The remaining three fourths, three times, so all that is much, much larger, is the entire set of the Supreme Lord's abodes, the spiritual worlds, the spiritual creations. So is it a familiar fraction? The numbers are, but till we attain God realization, we can not be able to know fully, of course, what is in that three fourths. We can only meditate upon it, we can think, we can imagine, as Mummy said, get transported through kirtans and bhajans, but we do, of course, await God's grace to be able to be familiar with that other portion, the three fourths. So, what Sri Krishna says here is continuing from chapter 10, verse 41, everything is but a spark of his splendor. And to conclude the chapter, then he actually tells Arjun, in different words, I've answered your questions, how to know me, how to think of me, how to meditate upon me. But what need is there for all this detailed knowledge? Yes, I went through this whole list of 80 plus vibhutis, opulences, etc. But guess what? You actually don't need to know all that. All you need to recognize and appreciate is that it is a tiny portion of, in this case, right, Sri Krishna's being, and he pervades and supports, he maintains the entire creation. If we just accept that, as we said in class, faith, a very, very good example here of faith. If we just totally accept that, we don't have doubt, we don't ask that next question about how else can I meditate upon you, Sri Krishna, or are you in this, but are you not in that object? If we get away from that, that reinforces our faith and devotion. So here in the commentary, Swamiji tells us that all this, we can only get the finite amount of words and descriptions. Sri Krishna is well more than that, well beyond it. He quotes, of course, from the Purush Suktam, so that mantra here, three, which is right, our world, and which is temporary, is just one fourth of the entire creation. And the rest of it, three fourths, is, of course, the spiritual eternal abodes. To help put that in perspective, there's the lovely story that we got to see with Lord Shiv, Mata Parvati, Ganeshji, and Kartikeya. So you can go through those details, but remember, we saw with the flyer the representation there. Short, to keep it short, the little race, the competition around the universe. How would you compete in a race around the universe? Kartikeya, with all his strength and prowess, went around the universe three times. On the other hand, Sri Ganeshji went around Lord Shiv and Mata Parvati, God, his parents, but God, the Supreme Lord, he went around them three times, circumambulated the universe, therefore, and got that special fruit. As we said, that's Jnana Palam, translated in English commonly as the golden mango, the elixir of wisdom. Only one person could eat it, and therefore that race had to be set. And of course, Ganeshji won that. So, as Mummy had stressed many times, intellect over physical strength is something that we really need to pay close attention to. So, with that, we truly then appreciate that God is everywhere, He pervades the entire creation. If we accept and understand that, we have a full basis for any manifestation of God and his energy, and to be able to think of him and to meditate upon him. Now, let's see some important Sanskrit words, Mummy, and then some additional explanation.
Okay, thank you, Gagan. So from verse 41, Vibhutim. Vibhutim means opulent, and this whole chapter is about Vibhuti Yog. Vibhuti Yog means Krishna is telling about his opulences and glories. So, what is glorious? Glorious is Urjitam. So, we learned two words, Vibhutim and Urjitam. That means glorious opulences. And then, verse 42, let's see Vishtabhya. Vishtabhya means pervade and support. Sri Krishna is saying that he is the one who is pervading all over and supporting this whole creation, entire creation. So, what is entire? Entire is Kritsnam. Kritsna. So let's learn here Vishtabhya and Kritsnam. And that will give us the crux of this whole chapter. What is it? The crux is basically Krishna is saying, have faith. Have faith that everything is coming from me and working because of me. Because he is pervading and supporting the whole creation. So once we have that faith, then we can go on increasing our bhakti. How to increase our bhakti? Whenever we see anything beautiful, anything powerful, anything glorious, anything like lot of wisdom, intellect, all these things, these are all just a spark of God's glories. Imagine if this is just a spark, all these universes, all this entire creation which we know about through the scriptures, that is just a spark. So imagine what will be the whole splendor. Imagine, because Shri Krishna is saying, and Swamiji has quoted from Purush Suktam, that verse says, Padosya Vishwa Bhutani Tripadasyam Amritam Divi. That is this whole Vishwa Bhutani, where the whole entire world is living, and all the universes which we have understood from the Milky Way and all, that is still Krishna is saying it's just one step. What are the three other steps? What are the three other parts of Sri Krishna? That is Amritam. Those are his eternal abodes where all the nectar is flowing. So imagine how much we need to now look for. So have our faith and increase our bhakti, so that during some lifetime, after loads and loads of bhakti and loads of faith in Sri Krishna, maybe we can imagine. Right now, we are just imagining. Maybe in one of the lifetimes, we can go to that Golok or Saket Lok and see what is it all about, Sri Krishna's real splendor, which we cannot have a look while we are here in this material world. All we can understand from Sri Krishna's own words, that this whole universe, what we see, is just one part, and three parts are his eternal abodes, right? So we just understand from this chapter 10 that there are infinite glories and opulences of Sri Krishna. We just know here finite number, but we have to have full faith that everything is emanating from Sri Krishna, manifesting from Sri Krishna, and we need to make those objects of our worship. God is the object of our worship. He is the source of all the glories. So let's increase our bhakti quotient. Over to you, Gagan. And before we end this video, since we have the grace to finish this chapter, let's offer it all to Sri Krishna by the closing prayer. Om Tat Sad Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Vibhuti Yogo Nama Dashamodhyayah Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Hari Om. जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे.
Indeed, yes, a fitting end to chapter 10. And yes, gratitude to, of course, Sri Krishna for all that. I'll also just mention that we were able to then, after that, also go through the introduction for chapter 10. So keep that in mind. Keep also in mind, remember chapter 10, verses 16 and 17, which is where Arjun has his important set of questions, culminating with, and while meditating, in what forms can he think of Sri Krishna? And remember, we did see as well, chapter 10, verse 24. That's where Kartikeya is mentioned. So again, all these different connections, but all this is just but a spark of Sri Krishna's splendor. So then do go back and take a look at the introduction, which as always serves as a full summary of the entire chapter. And remember again to, repeat nevertheless, infinite reservoir that Sri Krishna is, that will take us to the finite reservoir of questions that we'll hopefully come up with for next week's class. So when we meet, it's a new month. So Saturday, 3rd May 2025, we'll the usual time, 8 a.m. Central Time, 6:30 p.m. India time. Let's have our full chapter 10 quiz. So go through all these recap videos, go through your notes, Swamiji's commentary, etc. And we look forward to that. Till then, thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.